horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a huge warm welcome. It's the Bar Stewards Inquiry. It's Sunday sermon time. That time of the week. We're better than Highway. We're better than Bullseye. We're better than Thora Heard. Everything of that ilk. We just top them off. We're coming to you. Chorley FM, coming in your ears.
Disgusting.
Peter Kay gets a laugh out of it. I have to laugh at my own jokes.
No other fucker is, so you might as well. Huh?
Welcome you two, Jonas Lang and Mr. Lorne Malvo. Chris,
hello.
It's good to be with you again. How's your week's been, the pair of you?
John, you go first.
Do you really think we're better than Bullseye?
No, you're just trying to make you feel better about yourself.
You're actually right. Yeah, we're not better than Bullseye. No, that's bollocks. Maybe Bonanza. Maybe something.
Mr. and Mrs. Better than that. That was shit, wasn't it? Derek Bakey.
Yeah.
Be nice to each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
Be nice to each other. Yeah.
That's life as well. Were we better than that?
Oh, definitely. That old boss-eyed pervert that used to sit in the car.
Cyril Fletcher. Cyril's Ode. Fletcher's Ode, whatever. What a load of shit that one. And Ivor Biggin, Doc Cox. Remember him?
Yeah.
100% was on it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we're not totally shit, but I suppose they are shit. Right. Without further ado, so you don't want to talk to me about your weeks?
No.
Just a special announcement regarding this week. We have a very busy week on Bar Stewards, and this involves 3 podcasts. Well, 4 actually, if you count a Monday night one special with Jeff Banks and Dan Waugh discussing the affordability argument at the moment and the gambling survey that's out this week, which will interest some of you if you like that sort of thing. If you just want the tips and bets, the podcasts are available on Patreon Monday evening, Wednesday evening and Thursday evening. These are the 3 dates we're broadcasting next week for Goodwood. They're on Patreon and then they'll be free to air the morning after for you cheapskates out there. Please support us on Patreon. It is a help. We're doing very well on the Bar Stewards Edge service and the Bar Stewards Early Bird service. If some of you are lucky enough to get on overnight, it's doing 46% return on investment on overnight prices. So we are pretty much caning them.
Well, let's be fair, that's fucking mental, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd expect 30%. I demand 30% overnight on overnight prices. It's a 46. We're ticking along nicely.
And whose idea was it? Fucking who told you to do it? Huh?
Don't know.
Yeah, neither do I. Just thought I'd say that. Yeah, fucking visionary I am. Honestly, a visionary.
Yeah, it seems to be going down quite well. Obviously, some people can get on overnight. The thing is, small stakes as well, like tenors, 20 quids. If we do 10 points a month on average, that's 100 quid a month.
Yeah.
A tenner. If you get 20 quid on, it's 200 quid a month. And then service costs like 50 odd quid. You're making 150 quid a month piece of piss.
Yeah.
And it's an easy game overnight. Not so much 11 a.m, but we're still doing all right at that as well. So that's the plug done with. Let's get on to some topics. And John's questions this week that he's put to you on Twitter were brilliant. But we're going to start with racing, the boring bit, as Chris says. And we're going to talk about the King George yesterday, which took place at Ascot. And there was drama surrounding the final result, with Aidan O'Brien being very critical of the advertised service afterwards in the reasons for the defeat of Augustus Rodin. John, how did you see the race, how it went, and Aidan's comments after?
I'll say first of all, it's looked a fucking good time for good to soft ground.
2.27 quick, yeah.
I kind of take that with a bit of a pinch of salt because, I mean, he was actually describing the ground as tacky as well, which you would imply it would really slow them down rather than soft where they can cut through it. You know, I mentioned Luxembourg pulling 2 shows off. And I think they just got the tactics wrong. The big injection of pace from Hans Andersen, about 7 furlongs out, wouldn't have done anything on the front end much good for my money. Oh. It was the same with Ronnie Wood, who was analysing the race for the Racing Post. And the conversation cropped up this morning with me and Nick Davis, where we were debating how Ron would have analysed the 75 King George when it was absolute fucking brains out on the front end. And the runner-up was up there clocking the 5 furlong fractions early on. What manner of performance was that back in the day?
Coming back to Saturday's race,
Yeah.
you're spot on with the analysis regards to pacemaker. It was 7 furlongs to about 4 out where it killed everything on the front end because they all were too close to it. He got the fractions wrong badly on the pacemaker doing that. And that's why basically everything fell in a heap. But let's not dress it up. Auguste Rodin would be, I'm not saying a hound, because obviously he's won some good races, but at the same time, he can curl up pretty bad sometimes, can't he? When he can't be asked.
I think outside of Serpentine, he's probably everybody's least favourite Derby winner in the last 20 years.
I think that's a really good shout.
He's just an unreliable twat.
Yeah, I can't put that any better. Racing Post columnist John, you could be with that. I think I'd pay for that analysis every time. Sums it up nicely. So, what do we think to Aidan's rant?
I'll tell you something else as well, Lee, that I've been thinking about today. I think if King of Stale had run in that Dante and had that under his belt, I think he'd have fucking beat this at Epsom.
Possibly.
I think he's nipped past one that's possibly blown up in the last 100 yards.
Yeah, and possibly stop maybe kicking too soon in Derby.
Yeah, if there had to be, I think if there'd been a scrap, I think there'd have only been one winner.
Aidan's comments then. I've got a lot of respect for Aidan O'Brien in terms of training ability, obviously. I'm pointing out the obvious. But what pisses me off was that it's as if like they're still trying to protect him as a stallion. And we all know at this point in his career...
This is where we've got a problem in particular, though, Lee, isn't it? Because with City of Troy, after the Guineas, me and you were basically rubbing his cock, weren't we?
Yeah.
Over the comments. So now we're going to get stuck into him over these comments.
Pretty much. You've got to call it out.
Yeah.
He's wrong in this instance. The only thing I'm going to bring up, maybe a slight defence of O'Brien, is that the amount of water they've chucked on, was the 3 millimetres necessary the night before? That's another.
Probably not. Like
Nick Davies has pointed out, why was the stick a lot slower than at the Royal Meeting? Any particular reason why it had to be? Why did it have to be 7.4, 7.6, 7.5 when at the Royal Meeting it was like high 7s, even early 8s? That to me doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why that's the case when everyone knows summer ground at Royal Ascot, unless it downpours, you're probably going to be racing on good to firm ground. And that's just a gimme. If you've got a soft ground horse, you go elsewhere. I didn't understand the amount of water that was probably put on to get the stick readings that they got. I thought that was an error. And Stuart Williams, friend of the show's been on, he said, do you think the coursers might take notice a bit more now after Aidan called out Ascot?
It's the only hope, isn't it? Because they won't take any notice of us and they won't take any notice of Stuart.
No.
If Aidan was to write him a snotty letter and saying, I'm bringing fuck all to Royal Meeting next year, you bastards, that might garner a bit of action.
Indeed.
The rest of us banging on about it, they'll just tell us to get stuffed.
See, for me, Friday at Ascot, there was no firm in the surface. They gave it out as good to firm. There was no firm in that ground on Friday, which is why I'm questioning if there's no firm ground. Times backed that up heavily on Friday. Why have they put 3 millimetres on for Saturday? That is the right question.
Pretty much so, yeah.
The common sense from Stickles is to look at the Royal Meeting stick readings, and if you're a lot lower on Friday, then you wouldn't need to put 3 mils on for the Saturday. If you're lower than what you were at the Royal Meeting, it don't make any sense.
No.
But I can't make head or tail of these are for the time now.
King George was a bit of a standout, really, because, I mean, nothing else at standard, did they?
No. The winners had just the perfect storm, really. He was sat about 6th, just biding his time.
Just get dragged to a good time without getting emptied out.
Yeah, that's why they break world records as athletes in the Olympics, because everything's a perfect storm. You have pacemaker lap after lap after lap, dragging them along. It's the same thing. Simon Holden says about Rebels Romance running a tremendous race because of Buick's riding the King George. Was it a case of he was sort of a hostage to where Ballydoyle was sat, that's where he sat right up with Ryan? Do you think that's Buick got sort of dragged in a bit?
Well, it's definitely been Buick's plan, hasn't he? He goes where Ryan goes because he's ridden to beat Ryan.
Yeah, so yeah, agree there, Simon. That did run a big race to finish 3rd. Certainly better than Auguste anyway.
Got somewhere ran a great Gold Cup trail. Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned for the 3-year-olds this year, a little bit.
Cheltenham Gold Cup. Do you mean Cheltenham Gold Cup?
When the old William Hill Gold Cup, they used to have at Redcar.
Yeah, it was disappointing. The King George, John, as a race, it seems to be going downhill quite a lot.
There's no anticipation for it now, is there? You know, I mean, it used to be buzzing King George Week. The Friday's lost its lustre as well. You know, even the Friday used to be quite a buzzy sort of meeting. It's just really gone for a shit, hasn't it, to be honest?
I think the King George always needs a Derby winner to make it intriguing.
Yeah.
I think without a Derby winner, the King George becomes a bit...
Well, imagine the post-race interview. He's running his fucking Derby winner on that slop.
Well, there you go. All opinions, but Aidan was not soft ground, not Saturday. It may have rode a bit funny. Yeah, when you're running on water ground, it's different. Some horses might not go through it. They might be knocking tops off. It might have been softer in places on round course but then surely he'd have walked it, wouldn't he? Aidan always walks the course.
He said he'd walked it, and he said there was a lot of holes full of sand. I wonder if it was as rutty as hell and they haven't done a particularly good job getting it back from Royal Meeting.
Possibly. Moving on to the other big race of the weekend, which was the Group 2 Sky Bet at York, Forerunner affair, and sadly resulted in the injury to Passenger, who is out for the season and possibly his career. John, I'm going to be controversial here because I think the way they ran that race, possibly, it's a theory, may have contributed to that horse being injured. If he's been a bit fragile this summer, hence missing his Royal Ascot engagement, he didn't exactly need him to go 50 mile an hour down straight for 3 furlongs, did he?
It wouldn't have been ideal. My feeling was, as I went past the post, as I showed in my notes, I was pleased with how he performed because I didn't think it would have suited him in the slightest. I thought, well, that'll do. He'll be spot on for the good one now, without taking into account the fact that he was getting stretched off shortly afterwards. They absolutely crawled, didn't they? For me, I mentioned this yesterday to you, the whole race wants looking at the concept of it and everything, because in 10 years I've had 1 year with 8 runners.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
It's a shame for York, but, you know, it's probably the way that it fits into the calendar. It's Juddmont's fairly close by. You've got Goodwood next week. It's one of them that probably struggles to fill because of that.
I think the Juddmonts are sort of at a bit of a turning point as well, myself. I think they need a decent field this year. Well,
it's the resurgence of the Irish Champion Stakes, John. That seems to be on the rise. The Juddmont a little bit under pressure in recent times. Saturday's racing, we weren't enamoured, despite the big up by ITV about the King George, which I suppose they've got to do. We weren't that arsed, and John as usual. No enthusiasm at all. To lighten the mood, Keith Watson's been on Kent Chopper, and he says Derek Thompson is 82 on Wednesday.
I thought he was on about Daley Thompson.
That's straight. Honestly, I thought when I saw Daley Thompson 82.
He just said Thompson, didn't he?
It's got to be Derek Thompson, surely. That seems about right, doesn't it?
82? Fucking hell.
Yeah, Derek Thompson, 82. So what we're buying him?
Fucking hell. Trip to Dignitas, I think.
I'd buy him a little dish, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So he could take that fucking boiled sweet out of his mouth and put it on the side while he does a commentary, and then we wouldn't have all the bloody lips smacking while he's commentating.
That's a rogue tooth that's fucking wandering around his mouth. That's not a boiled sweet, I'm sure of it. Fucking one of the old dentures.
Well, he can put the rogue tooth on the dish, can't he?
We suppose he could. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's very annoying, isn't it?
Oh.
Right, good question, Keith. Right, Black Lion.
Yes.
Old boy, the 15-year-old. B.E. O'Neill's tweeted it and a few others have tweeted it. Very sad story, this, that some git wants £3,500 quid for 15-year-old Black Lion.
Fucking cunts, aren't they? They're cunts. There's no other word for it.
The old stable lass is willing to look after him, but can't afford the £3,500. So they've set up a GoFundMe. So please look for it on Twitter. J_A_Humphreys, Jackie Humphreys. Chuck a £5 in, something like that. Anything you've got, really, whatever they'll let you chuck in. It's just a worthy cause. Like, it's horrible to see. There's horrible fuckers in this life, and
Yeah.
asking for $3.5 for blackline a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You just love to know who they are and probably just go around and kick fuck out of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like that copper did to that fella at Manchester Airport. Fucking tie him up and boot their head in. Honestly, because that's disgraceful, isn't it? You know, I mean, it's unconscionable, isn't it?
I don't know why they do that. That should be free to a good home.
Yes.
However it is, I hope the next shit's a hedgehog and it comes out backwards.
Yeah, or a pineapple. Yeah.
Racing League.
Yeah.
It's back on our screens. It was back with a bang with some big prize winners. So questions have been in. Sean, he said, Racing League, shite concept, but decent punting cards, ? Not sure about that. Also, Galway and Goodwood, same week. Which sadist made that painful decision for punters? Trapped down the inside with nowhere to go for the win.
Oh, yeah.
He's right there. He's bog on there. Racing League thing. What I've never understood about it is they've lost money every year. Whoever's putting money in has lost every single year. It's a concept that's not really caught on. It's been tried in other countries. Apparently New Zealand tried it once, a similar sort of concept, and that died a death. The Shergar Cup's never been a success, has it really?
They're short of money, but they're never short of money for shit like this.
Exactly.
Weird, isn't it?
Exactly. You know,
We can always chuck some gravy at the gravy train riders.
It's weird, isn't it? The idea that the initial concept that the people would try and identify with the personalities and kind of rally round the sort of the regions, that's shown after the first year that it doesn't work. Racing isn't a team sport. People don't bet on teams or follow particular stables or follow their local yard. People just want to gamble and bet winners. So you think, okay, they've tried it, it doesn't work. But yet, as John said, they still persisted throwing money at something that people patently don't want. They're not interested in it. That's it.
The betting concept is pretty rubbish because I do it for a living. All right, punters will say, well, I like it. I get good prices. It's 4-1 the field. But these are cards that, like, you go through 14 runners nearly in every race, and there's probably like a lump of shite between them all. It's like whatever gets the right ride, the right trip.
Your pace maps are virtually redundant because you don't know what the fuck these airheads are going to do when they get drawn to ride whatever.
No, it's like they make run a ground race.
It's bags racing. That's what it is, isn't it? It's bags racing. That's all it is.
Yeah, the books might like it, but they're not proper betting races for somebody like me to attack and say, right, we've got an absolute standout here. For me, it's a waste of time.
The only people I've seen tweeting about it this week are the team captains or managers or whatever the hell they call themselves.
Well, yeah, because they're getting paid.
And they're getting zero reply. Zero.
Yeah, there's not much feedback on it from punters, I don't think.
Nobody gives a shit about it.
Are we just old fogies?
No.
We are, though.
We are, but not on
we
this.
are.
Not on this. It's fundamental.
Well, yeah, but I like to think we're not gullible idiots that just rock along with shit like this.
Yeah, the evidence is overwhelming. People don't want it. It's lost money every year. If it was successful, it would have made money. If people wanted it, it would have made money. And yet they persist in it. And you got to ask yourself why. Who's funding it and why?
That's the right question, and that's how you should approach life, really. Everyone does it in politics, don't they? When someone says, go and do this, and then you find out that they're the ones that are getting paid by
BlackRock
such
behind it, or whatever.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, follow the money. I don't think anyone's clear where the money's coming from, are they? They've always had a CEO, haven't they, like of the Racing League business, but I think he's a bit of a patsy. I think wherever it's coming from, it's not him.
It was like Alan Dorfman, the old mob fucking front for the Teamsters pension fund. You know, everybody knew that Alan Dorfman wasn't in charge, but on paper he was. You know, so you got to ask yourself who's behind the CEO.
No, you're right. So Arena Racing coming on to them at the moment. They staged a card at Newcastle on Saturday that managed to get into the Premier window. Apparently, the customers were charged more than at Ascot's, but apparently there was like a DJ on after, so it was pretty rammed, probably for the DJ, not for the racing. And I think they called it Ladies' Day, where I've always said that's the secret for the tracks. Just have a Ladies' Day every week or something like that. Boost attendance. Davey says, of our panel, says, are they now the biggest takeout merchants? The books and the tracks, Arena Racing, are these the biggest takeout merchants? John, what do you think?
It's a good battle, isn't it, between between the track, these media rates wonks, it's just ridiculous, really, that sort of card can get anywhere near a premierisation window. But it just goes to show premierisation doesn't mean jack shit either, does it, in the great scheme of things? You're still there to be just milked as a punter, race goer, whatever. They talk the talk, but when it comes down to it, they do not carry anything through to its logical conclusion. If the BHA were on top of the brief, that meeting would not have got the go-ahead in the window it was in.
4 of the races Saturday paid 2.9k to the winner.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Which is just absolutely atrocious. And there was I think they finished the card with a 0 to 65 and a 0 to 55 or something like that. I mean, I can remember as an owner, John, I wanted Saturday runners to be able to maybe take people who I know racing, like friends. But obviously, because I owned horses like in the mid-60s, maybe early 70s, I couldn't get in any races on Saturday. That's why the term Saturday horse.
Gotcha.
It no longer applies. The bookmakers...
Well, it applies. It's just your Saturday horse can be rated 46.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I couldn't get in a race. I had to run on a Monday and Tuesday all the time. Where
I'm good at Saturday horse as long as the rain has got a rating.
Yeah. So if I wanted a social occasion, well, who's coming racing with me Monday and Tuesday? I know you.
I like it when I've got the place to myself.
I'm saying, but obviously when you want to take your mates or your family or whatever, they work. It's hard to do, but the landscape's changed there. John Lindsay summed this up fantastic when he said, watching Ark and Flutter fight like rats in a sack over who gets to rinse the sport the most, John. Quality. Yeah. Absolutely spot on, John Lindsay. That's the kind of comments we want on this show. None of this fucking journalist shit that panders to them. That is exactly what they're doing. They're fighting like rats in a sack who literally extract the most money out of the game and save a little bit on their expenses and get the profitability and the optimization of the bottom line for the shareholders. Got to have a bit of bubbly the shareholders, Chris.
Totally. I mean, that's a brilliant comment, isn't it? Because that gets to the heart of the issue. It is there to who can maximise and drain the resources of punters most effectively, because that's what everybody in racing seems to want to do. And that's the problem, you know, and all these initiatives that you see, like Racing League and Ladies' Days and Premierisation, they're all kind of like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Eventually, it's going to sink, isn't it? You know, it may slow racing's decline, but fundamentally, until people can get a bet on and people are encouraged to have a bet, the game's gone, isn't it? It's gone. All these initiatives, they won't save the sport.
Agree totally with that. We're talking about getting a bet on. You won't get one on with Yeeehaaa Bet.
No, gone, isn't it?
Gone. What's all that about? Strange one, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
The thing that I find strange is, obviously, former guest of the show, Matt Chapman, has said nothing on it.
No.
There was just a screen put up on Yeeehaaa Bet. We no longer trading, blah, blah, blah. Get in touch here for refunds or whatever. So, but there's nothing said as to why. He's just like ditched it. It was there and then it's not there. I just find this really odd in terms of, usually there's a reason, isn't there? Or it's like, well, it's not profitable or it's not viable or it's so we've decided to close the doors or whatever. Nothing. No one has said a word. It's bizarre. It's a registered gambling company under the Gambling Commission, the UK. No one has, from Yeeehaaa Bet or from those behind Yeeehaaa Bet, have said a word.
No, and ITV haven't grilled him, have they?
Well, it's funny, and that's very strange, isn't it? You'd have expected ITV to
have something to say. Yeah. It's almost like it never happened.
Yeah. Said no, whatever.
It's just massive suggestion, that's all it is. It never happened. It was never there. It's like the Mandela effect. Remember when we had a bookmaker, MCER? No, I don't remember that. It's the Mandela effect, I promise.
Yeah, Matt Chapman, you've been in touch with us before. Tell us why. Give us a response. I'll give you a platform. Tell our listeners why it's gone. And have punters got their money? Is everything good on that front? Punters of Yeeehaaa Bet, get in touch with us. Let us know how that's going in terms of refunds, etc., etc. Yeah, or whatever's happening with that, because it's a mystery. Is that
Boy, anyway. Wilcox, that yeah, mystery.
Good song.
Yeah, it was actually. Didn't she sing it with a lisp? Didn't she have a lisp? It's a mystery.
Yeah, it was a mystery.
That's right. Yes, it's a mystery.
Tyre Wilcox, yeah, that's going back some minute. Right, so going through some of John's stuff, we've got some questions, some really funny questions to finish the show. Going through some of John's stuff. Dressage, is it really brutal? This bird, John, that she was going to the Olympics, right? And then they found a video, yonks back of a, I don't know, whipping an horse or something.
Long Tom, wasn't it? Cracking it.
Yeah, long Tom round the ass, basically. In all honesty, I didn't think she was hitting it that hard. They were like what Gary Stevens used to refer to as love tap.
Well,
I would imagine she lit him a lot harder than that when the cameras aren't really.
It's the optics, though, isn't it? And the fact, wasn't it strange that someone was so concerned that they decided to leak it just before the Olympics to ensure that this lady, was booted off the team. So there's obviously an agenda in play there, isn't there? I mean, but in today's world, you look at that and look, we've all seen worse, haven't we? In racing yards over the years. But I suppose in today's ultra-sensitive world, it doesn't look very good if you don't know what she's looking to achieve when training that horse. So, that's the world we're in, isn't it?
I've never been a fan of dressage, in all honesty. I mean, well, I think it's very skillful getting horses to do these things. I don't think it's very natural for them to be doing them.
No. And she was training someone else's horse, wasn't she? Obviously, she charges to train other people's dressage horses. And that particular animal was, she was training on behalf of someone, obviously getting a little bit frustrated, wasn't she? You could tell in her body language.
It reminds me a bit of the rodeos where they come belting towards you on them rodeo ponies and then skid to a halt.
Definitely.
I always think that's utterly fucking ridiculous as well, because I've never seen a horse stop like that of its own volition anywhere.
No, not at all. It is totally, at least racing horses are not being asked to do anything that they wouldn't necessarily do in the wild. Run fast, jump things. That's kind of what they do. All you've got to do is maximise their ability to do what's in their nature. Dressage has always struck me as ludicrous sport anyway.
And go in stalls and take a piss test, of course.
Well, okay, maybe not that. But, dressage has always been absurd, isn't it? Well, who'd fucking pay to watch that shit? I mean, really, come on. Rubbish. Get rid of it all.
I agree with what's being said in that I don't know how you get a horse to do that. It's quite fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
I maybe should make some inquiries.
I tell you what, they have plenty of fucking gear on them, like.
Yeah, they do. Lots of tools to get the horses to do things which are very, very unnatural, aren't they? But again, look, it's like anything. If the horses were fundamentally unhappy, would they do what they're being trained to do? I mean, I don't know to what extent you can force a horse to do those things. So, I've no idea. But it didn't look good, in today's world. Wind the clock back 20 years, and you see that people go, well, yeah, guess so. Not great, but there's not going to be much outrage. But now there's outrage over everything, isn't there?
I think it's never good for equine sport, the fact that when you're training a horse to be ridden, it's described as breaking.
Yep.
Breaking them in.
Breaking their will, yeah. The words aren't particularly good, they've got connotations of force, haven't they?
Well, we know what breaking them in is. If anyone's seen breaking a 2-year-old in, if anyone's actually seen that, I know for a fact that the anti-horse racing crowd would probably have a fit if they saw some of it, because it's like getting a child to behave right in the way you want it to. And obviously that requires also some discipline, if you like.
Yeah.
Like we used to get the cane and the slipper if we were complete twats. I won't say it's quite like that, but they are highly, the thoroughbred genes, they're very highly strung animals. So you are teaching an animal to behave.
It's coercion. There is an element of coercion. You can't get around that. There is coercion involved in breaking horses to be ridden. That's just around the world. It's not just horse racing. That's any equine sport or endeavour. That's kind of, if you keep horses, even the antis that keep horses in, fields and all that, and think that, at some point that horse has been broken to be ridden by that individual somewhere in its life.
Yes. Right, we'll move on because I don't think we're particularly experts in dressage. We'll go on to nose waxing, John.
Now this we are experts in.
I've never had it done.
Oh, what's the matter with you?
What a traumatic experience this week, honestly.
Well, what's happened?
Go on.
Well, I was desperate for a haircut, and I went to a Turkish barber's.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a Yorkshireman, so anything that I say that's free, I'm having some of that.
Yeah.
And it said 3 nose waxings. So I thought, right, that'll do, mate. Anyway, it involves putting scalding hot wax on a stick.
Yeah.
And shoving it up your bugle.
Yeah.
Then letting the wax harden.
Mm-hmm.
And then removing said sticks from each nostril at speed.
Yep.
Thereby taking the hair with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, worked perfectly well on the left nostril.
Yep.
The right nostril, he whips the stick out and the wax stayed put.
Ooh.
Yes. So it took him 3 attempts with tweezers
Oh.
to get the 3 fragments of wax that had split
Grim.
Operate
out
there.
of his snot. And he had the fucking audacity to say, "Oh, your eyes are watering." After the
Have a
third.
tissue. You should have the ear one. That's worse. Have the whole ear one. I've had that done.
The set fire to me ears.
Oh, that's pussy-o one. That doesn't do the
Yeah.
job. Get the wax one done. That is fucking.
Yeah.
You want pain? That is horrific. Absolutely horrific.
I'll tell you what, I did have a Turkish once. It was threaded on the eyebrow.
Yeah,
You call it
yeah.
Threaded.
All right, yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah, it does.
That is really
Like
unpleasant.
buggery, fucking really. The whole thing hurts, but you know that's the kind of thing. But you can't kind of go ow, can you? Because you don't want to
No,
get sick.
that's
You
it.
have to grit your teeth.
I nearly bit through my cheek. when
Yeah,
I
me
was-
and all. Everything all right, sir? Yes, no, that's fine. No
Yes,
problem. Does that hurt?
yes.
No bother here, mate. Fucking rock hard
Yeah.
we are. You want to cry, don't you?
Other news this week, John, which was sort of disconcerting for me as well. King's pay rise. What is that about?
Well, he basically had a 50% pay rise, hasn't he? About the deal.
I think so. He's gained 45 million extra
Yeah.
from taxpayer.
It won't be 50% then because he gets a lot more than that, doesn't he?
Isn't it something to do with them? I think there was a deal, wasn't there? Someone said that they've allowed him to. He's allowed them to put, I don't know, wind farms on Dutchy land or something like that. And I reckon there's a link. You allow us to do that, and we'll buy you a couple of new helicopters and give you a pay rise.
Well, wouldn't it have been cheaper to just take the land off him and shoot
Well,
the
yeah.
entire family?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That'd have been cheaper, wouldn't it, for the taxpayer? But yeah, I think there's a deal being.
You know, they need to look at General Stalin's playbook here, don't they, a little bit? In regards to
They only do that in America and Russia and China, don't they, really?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to catch up, don't we?
We do.
definitely, we need to grow up.
Yeah,
Get
fair
off
enough.
our fucking knees.
Yes.
Yes. Better die on your feet than...
Well,
on
one
your
day as a
knees.
lion and 100 years as a lamb and whatever. All that,
Yeah,
yes.
all that shit.
Yes,
Right,
nonsense, fridge magnet wisdom.
let's go on to some funny. Chris Pull. He said, could you touch on the Olympic opening ceremonies, please?
Yes.
We could. We could. But we want to keep our Apple rating, don't we? That's the
Who
thing.
watched it?
I only saw like clips because I didn't watch it live. I probably were punting, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it live. I just watched the clips and the outrage. It appears everyone's got the knickers in a twist over the sort of... The message was sort of the Last Supper.
Yeah,
Those who didn't watch it, I'll give them a bit of a
yeah. Summary, a précis.
sort of a minute and a half overview of it, really. The cast basically was a mishmash of former Charlie Hebdo employees and the models from The Joy of Sex.
God.
Celine
Hairy.
Dion, till she can lip sync.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lady Gaga still gives the impression she's probably got a cock.
yeah, it's a geezer, isn't it?
Claire Baldwin still specialising in the bleeding obvious, telling us there was no rehearsal.
Fucking right.
It was more about normalising perverts and cranks these days than bringing nations together, because
Yeah.
most of the nations would have had some of these participants in the religious skits strung up.
Yes,
And then we had the Last Supper with that cunt with his bollock hanging out.
yes.
That was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
I mean, you know if you've got a bollock hanging out, he's a fucking pervert.
Yes.
He did that knowingly in front of
Degenerate,
billions.
yeah. It's Weimar Mark II. I shot my
Yeah.
Luger into the ceiling of the beer keller when I was watching that. It's a fucking abomination. But as we said, tongue in cheek, John, at the beginning, in order to preserve our Apple podcast, we're sort of standing a clean rating. You've got to be careful because, of course, Apple and all these podcasts all these platforms have, an agenda to promote this kind of narrative, don't they? So, far from the chap that designed it or put it together said it was about promoting inclusivity. Well, it was massively exclusive because there were no white heterosexual men, no people from ethnic backgrounds prominently. It was displayed prominently. It was about a particular sexual orientation, wasn't it? That was the narrative. And so I don't see how that was inclusive. Quite the contrary, in fact.
Some people described it as satanic.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't they? It's very, very sinister. And, we're sitting here and anyone with any semblance of normality can see it for what it is.
If you're quite heavily into your Old Testament, I dare say it would be classed as satanic.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. No religion on earth should be free from being lampooned. Right, I'm a great believer in that. But it's funny how these people don't have the bollocks to go and say to parody the Prophet Muhammad. Try and see what would happen if you did that as your opening ceremony. France would be ablaze.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but this is how I see it. Before cries of racism and stuff, it's just that
Jawohl, mein Führer.
Muslims seem to be more passionate. What happens is if you do that, as we've seen, like if you take the piss out of their religion, they burn things down and kill people.
They do. Yes, they do.
Christians tend to go, we don't like that.
Sure, that's well out of order.
That's a fact. And if people say, well, that's rubbish, well, no, it's not, because that's all Christians have tended to do in response to this abomination of an opening ceremony. But like you rightly say, Chris, had that been the other side of the coin.
Yeah, and not since the Crusades have Christians stood up for themselves, And frankly, I can't agree with that. I mean, I don't think any religion shouldn't be free from being lampooned at all.
Have we got an idea of when the cranks actually got hold of opening ceremonies? I think it was around about the time of the Sydney Games.
I think so.
Because prior to that, it was a case of all the teams walked around the athletics track behind their flag and everybody was bored shitless.
Yeah, that's true. Really boring.
That was the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
But now the cranks have got it all of it. It's only a matter of time before somebody's in the centre circle getting one up the arse as the Olympic torches lit.
It is satanic. It is satanic. It is degenerate. It is everybody can see what it is. It is there to promote a sexual perversion. Not love, not inclusive. It's sexual perversion. And normal people who are gay, lesbian, whatever, does the mainstream of people who are gay support this? And I'll tell you what, they don't. Without saying like some of my best friends are black, I know loads of gay people and they are appalled at this kind of tiny, militant kind of group of individuals who purport to speak for gay people when they don't. The vast majority just want to get on with their lives and don't want to be defined by their sexual orientation because that's the least interesting thing about them. That's the thing, And I think they don't speak for, the vast majority of gay people around the world. But here they are. They've got the platform, haven't they?
It's really odd. We're in really odd times. I think this ceremony kind of proves what kind of sort of times we're in. I think if anyone listening to this pod, if you can watch that and say you were happy with that.
Yeah. There's something fucking wrong with you.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with you, yeah. I'm going to say it.
Would you let your child watch that?
No.
Would you be happy to sit around as a family watching that and think that's all right? Because if you are, then social service should be kicking your fucking door in.
Not we want it spuds popping out and all that.
Well, that's my point. Yeah, that's my point. That's my point.
I watch football that often. 9:30 at night, which is after Watershed, and you can hear crowd going, fuck off, all this lot. Right? And they always apologise for the bad apologies for the bad language. So you apologise for the bad language and you let some bloke with his bollock out and don't say anything.
They pixelated the women's beach volleyball recordings. They pixelated that. That's absolutely true. They because they didn't want to offend people who might be offended by a bouncing breast, and yet they're perfectly happy to show in glorious natural colour a man's testicle descending out of his shorts. What a world! You tell me that's right, and you're mad. Literally mad.
We are in mad times, but this is where we're at, and this is coming into racing as well. The mad times, which we'll talk about with Jeff and Dan War later. But problem for me with the Gambling Commission vessel is that, have you noticed, it's on a one-way trajectory. It's not there for turning. No matter what's said, it's like screaming beneath the waves. No matter what survey being done, no matter what petition we've signed, no matter what arguments we've presented, this vessel ain't for stopping or turning around.
No.
And it seems very much like that in society, where you get things like this and they're trying to dress it as normal. And it's like, no, it's not normal. It's just not. Anyway, we'll move on to Chris Poole. Hopefully you will find the response to our...
When we've been arrested in the week, we hope VC Bet will post bail.
Before we come on to the next question, going back to some of John's, John highlights Benny Hill, Dave Allen, or Kenny Everett. Who was the best of that generation?
It was just, I was watching a thing on the telly this week, and somebody said all three would be banned.
Yes, well, they would.
I thought it was suitable for a discussion. Who was the best? I mean, for me, Dave Allen would be head and shoulders above the other two.
I'd agree.
No, I disagree. I always think Dave, he's a very clever guy. Yeah, he's very funny, but I always think he's a bit of Pete and Dud about him. You're encouraged to laugh because he's so clever. Whereas I think a lot of his material, for me, fell flat. But look, he's a very clever guy, and he more than holds his own in that company. Benny Hill for me, more funny. Honestly, it's good.
Yeah, I get the Benny Hill. As a kid, I used to piss myself at last bit when they sped him up running around chasing birds, pinching their asses.
But it was always him being chased. You see, what Ben Elton got wrong when he was, because Ben Elton sort of spelled Benny Hill's demise. He's always chasing women round parks. It was always Benny Hill getting chased. If you look at the end outro, it was always the men getting... And the joke with Benny Hill was, men were always the butt of the joke. The, sad, pathetic old men trying to get their end away with a million to one. And that was the joke. It's like on the buses, people say, that's disgusting. No way would those young girls go with those disgusting old men. Well, that's the joke. Men were always the losers in that. So I think Benny Hill wasn't as sexist as people said. I think he was. But listen, all of those three were of their time, weren't they?
Benny Hill, right? Yeah. You touched on something interesting there. That's the same in modern society on social media.
Yep.
Like older men chase younger women on social media.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Racing creeps. It works. They've got loads and loads of followers because people find it hilarious.
Yes.
That said random fat bald bloke tweets at Kate Tracy.
It's Kate Tracy, isn't it?
What I'd do with you on a night or something like that.
Yeah, I'd call 1,000 miles over broken glass just to wank over your shadow, babes.
It's true there.
Do you find you get much success with that, Lang?
Well, I tell you what, I've got my knees are shredded, mate, with broken glass, honestly.
What Benny Hill did then, but on TV, and everyone saw it and said, "Oh, like dirty old men."
The precursor for Kate Tracy.
Yeah, it's just social media now. It hasn't changed. It's only because it's frowned upon. You're trying to suppress attraction in a way.
Absolutely.
You've got to suppress it because you'd be classed as a bigger pervert than them at the Olympic opening ceremony. And
you would say, why is it with men like shag anything that moves, they're a boy, they're a one, etc. And a woman does it, she's vilified. Well, the answer is very simple. It's because society prizes and gives reward and status to people that achieve things that are hard to do, right? So men have sex pretty much whenever they are presented with the opportunity, wherever they can and whenever they can. Because for men to get sex, unless you're fucking the bloke that plays Thor or Ryan Gosling, it's hard to do. Women can have sex whenever they want. It doesn't matter what you look like. If a woman sat in a bar and made it clear that she was up for it, she would get nailed every single day. So that's an easy bar to navigate. And so that's why men who are prolific fucking swordsmen are given credit. And that's simply the reason. And that goes to your point. It's hard to do. Men chase women. That's the way the world works.
Well, it's how we evolved. I said it before on shows. Men bash other men over the head with a club, take their meat and their woman.
Yeah. Kind of that's how it rolls.
Or with hammer if you're the bloke that plays stuff.
There you go. He wouldn't have to bother, would he? He'd have them coming to him, wouldn't it?
It's only because you're shaped by the society narrative. If the narrative said it was acceptable, all right, then so I'll go back to Olympic. That's acceptable. It's acceptable to have your bollock out at Olympics. It's acceptable to take piss out of Christianity and just laugh.
Yeah, it's so social mores.
So somebody our age, we could send a 20-year-old a mucky message, and as long as we had a bollock hanging out how we did it, it'd be all right. That's
what they've done. The point is that what society says is acceptable.
Yeah.
For example, it's not acceptable for an adult to sleep with children.
No, absolutely not.
In the rules of attraction, who makes those rules?
Oh,
Lorraine Shelley.
Yeah, Lorraine Kelly. Yeah, fucking hell. Wherever Lorraine Kelly.
Lorraine Kelly live. Can you see my growler?
That's the one.
We are straying wildly off topic. Things that have always been not just socially unacceptable, but fundamentally morally unacceptable. And yeah, any relationship that involves coercion or proceeds without the consent of the other party, so obviously people have to be able to give full consent, ought to be entirely acceptable. But as regards racing creeps, yeah, I think the laugh is that the people that are making the comments at Miss Tracy are so wildly mismatched, aren't they? That's the gag. It tends to be sort of, 35-stone lorry drivers from fucking Stoke who are sort of,
Tree trunk.
Yeah, exactly. Who are
Say we know one of them.
That's the issue, I think.
Come on to some last three questions, which are, of course, tremendous.
Yes.
As always. But it's three questions. This is split into two from Bert Doncaster.
Yeah.
With your newfound fame, you've been asked to appear on Celebrity Stars in Their Eyes.
God.
Which showbiz star have you chosen to impersonate?
Jimmy Savile. That went, Jibble, etc., etc.
I think they have to sing.
God, I thought he was here.
Yeah, I was in the room touching you, yeah.
John?
Well, I've been told there is something of a resemblance, so I'd go along with Mel Smith when he had that hit with Kim Wilde.
Yeah.
And hopefully they get Kim Wilde along for the show.
She looks ropey now. Mate. Fucking hell. Honestly.
Had chances. I'm 56 for fuck's sake.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. You're more like 17 is your sort of demo from the previous conversation, I reckon. Yeah.
Mine would be Oliver Reed,
Yeah.
easy. I think that sums that up nicely. But he goes on to say, which Olympic event could you hold your own in?
Women's beach volleyball, and I wouldn't be my own beholden. Well, it is my own, but not in the way he thinks.
I'd go for the disabled archery.
Sit down, you lazy bastard.
I can sit down in a chair and just aim arrows at a target. I'd be good at that. I've got good hand-eye coordination. Bang! That's mine, John.
Powerlifting.
That's it.
I'd love you as a power lifter.
Yeah.
Now, I'm coming on stage with Stephen Power and giving one right under the fucking chin and lifting.
Power lifting. Very good.
Oh, blogger. I like it. Question to finish. The Racing League is a nice, fun event. Is it? Is it?
It's not really, but go on.
So, according to Samuel Lucat,
yeah.
So if next year's bar stewards were offered to join with a team,
yes,
dead or alive, which famous historical figures, comedians, fit women would you ask to join you and why?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? As usual.
We need to think about this one.
Yeah. Don't know. Does it have to be a composite team of various people, or is it just one kind of individual?
I mean, obviously, there's a team manager, isn't there? But
yeah.
Maybe if we would join with the team, sort of like maybe one, maybe two figures would we like to work with in the Racing League?
Well, I think I'd try and sort of Mardi Gras my team up a bit, given the Olympic opening ceremony that we just witnessed. I'd have like Kylie and Danny turning up in feather boas every night, and 82-year-old Derek Thompson as the front man to all this, smacking his lips away.
That'd be good.
Probably get the bloke from the Last Supper with his bollock hanging out as well, seeing that went down so well as well. I think that sort of thing would probably liven the Racing League up a bit. I'd definitely include Blakey as well, because he tweets about it all the time and will get maximum publicity.
Yeah.
My two would be Bob Ogden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For After Show.
Oh, yes.
And Dettori for Colombian.
Yeah, liking that. And mine would be SpongeBob SquarePants and Hitler. There you go. I reckon that'd be a good, interesting combo.
Hitler, Jesus Christ.
You wouldn't fucking lose, though, would you? You'd guarantee to win.
Well,
the Bob Ogden team wouldn't give a fuck whether they lost or not.
Well, that's true. But you got to have that winning mindset.
My team's the best. Bob Ogden and Dettori. Yeah. That's a combination that you couldn't beat.
That's a team for the whole week, isn't it? Not just 30 days.
Yeah.
You wouldn't last a week doing that, would you? Right. Dead after 4 days. Non-runner.
Right, folks, it's time to end the party. This week's party, anyway. Hope you found some of it good. It's never good but
No.
just not totally
Tolerable.
shit. This
Sure.
week's might be abominable, but
Yeah, and we might not be on next week after this. That might be it.
no. That's all from us, so don't forget to join us next week, and don't forget all the pods this week. Plenty of them to go at. Bye for now.